Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, with tons of major Raiders coaching news that you need to know. We're going to go through everything that if you bleed silver and black, you're going to see this video and you're going to go, you know what? I'm up to date with all things going on around the Raiders. But this is why I want you to hit that subscribe button. The 2026 offseason has me so fired up that I'm live and I'm talking about an OC interview, a DC interview, and the Raiders hiring an assistant head coach. But you know why I'm making this video? Because at the end of the day, when Raiders news happens, y'all are the one I want to talk to. Just like I think when news happens, I think you guys are sitting here because we have a beautiful Raiders community. And I'm going to tell you why every single move that the Raiders did is either good or bad. And I hope that you respect my God-honest opinion. Let's go to the biggest news that ended up going down. It's coming in from Tom Pelissero. The Raiders are hiring Mike McCoy as assistant head coach. McCoy, 53, spent 4 years as the Chargers head coach and finished last season as the Titans interim coach, an experienced addition to Klint Kubiak staff. You see that last sentence right there? An experienced addition to Klint Kubiak staff. Raise your hand if you wanted the Raiders to hire a young, innovative, offensive-minded head coach. Keep your hand raised if you want Klint Kubiak to stay even more focused on the X's and O's because he's going to be your play caller. I would imagine your hands up there right now waving all around. But to me, the reason why you do this is because you want somebody that has past head coaching experience. You want somebody that's got a lot of OC experience. Somebody that might be able to be the other person to handle maybe some of the other BS that you don't want to have to do as a head coach. Because in the NFL, let's say you get 100 minutes to work, right? I want Kubiak as much time as humanly possible working on making sure our offense is as best as humanly possible. But it's just like anything. There's going to be other things that you have to end up doing. Does anybody out there own a business? If you own a business, your job every single day is to make sure that business is running at a high clip. But you also hire people underneath you to make sure that you can take care of some of the other BS stuff that you don't want to do. But I've covered the Raiders closer than anybody on the planet over the last 8 years. I've covered the NFL for 10-plus years here at Chat Sports. Relationships matter. Connections matter. And here are the connections to why I ultimately think Mike McCoy got hired as the Raiders' assistant head coach. Let's first start in 1995. McCoy was a quarterback trying to make the Denver Broncos roster. Gary Kubiak. He was the OC and quarterback coach. Guess who McCoy's close to? Gary Kubiak. He's the dad of Klint Kubiak, Super Bowl winning head coach. Speaking of winning a Super Bowl as a head coach, from 2015 to 2016, you got Gary Kubiak, who's the head coach of the Denver Broncos, going up against Mike McCoy, head coach of the San Diego Chargers. You also know how much Mark Davis loves AFC West experience. And then the final one that I'll bring up here in 2017, Mike McCoy is the Broncos offensive coordinator, and Klint is an assistant to McCoy in 2017. I guess, honestly, another one that literally just popped into my mind, the Raiders assistant GM, Brian Stark. Where was he for the last, I think it was like 2006 to 2024, the Denver Broncos. So when you add all of those reasons up, that is why I believe Mike McCoy is the Raiders' assistant head coach, and it's why I think that this is a smart, sneaky move for the silver and black. Hell, the video I put out today, I go, I wonder if the Raiders end up bringing a guy like Gary Kubiak, somebody that Klint can trust to help him be a senior offensive advisor. I look at this assistant head coaching job, and I think that that's a smart move. I also think that teams learn from their past, and I look at what Klint Kubiak just did in Seattle. They just won a Super Bowl, and the assistant head coach to Mike Macdonald was Leslie Frazier, somebody who maybe is past their prime a little bit, but still very well respected around NFL circles. And Mike McCoy is going to be, I think, that exact same person for the silver and black. Let's go to the other news that ended up happening today, and it's probably the news that is going to fire a lot of people up. And I know this, it fires me the F up. If you're happy that the Raiders are interviewing Rob Leonard to be their DC, hit that like button right now. And I say that because I know if you're a real one and you watch this show, this news is going to fire you the F up. So coming in from Ari Maroff, the Raiders are expected to interview defensive line coach and run game coordinator Rob Leonard for their DC position. Very notable, as Leonard is one of the coaches Max Crosby respects the most in the building. Leonard has had interest from other teams this cycle, and he's going to continue to get interest from other teams in this cycle because I think that Rob Leonard is the best coach on the Raiders defense. And I believe that Rob Leonard is one of the most underappreciated coaches in all of the National Football League. He also worked underneath John Harbaugh, which is important to me because if you're the Raiders and you were going to hire Jesse Minter, well, you liked Minter, who had Harbaugh connections. Mark Davis likes Harbaugh connections. 16 years of coaching experience, 13 in the NFL. When I really started paying attention to Rob is when we started sending our chat sports team, out to the Combine, out to East-West Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl. And I remember Rob Leonard was one of the coaches. I believe he was the linebacker coach that year. And selfishly, I don't remember if it was the Senior Bowl or if it was the East-West Shrine game. But what I do know from covering the NFL for as long as I have, the NFL sends out certain coaches. They don't send out a willy-nilly Brennan Carroll to go coach those guys. No, they send out well-respected coaches because they want to get the most out of the players, because they want NFL GMs, coaches, everybody, the scouting department, to see what those players have when they're bringing it to the table. And I've talked about the Raiders keeping Leonard. I believe I did it last Saturday at Super Bowl Media Row, which actually not Saturday. Might have been Friday. Yeah, it was Friday before our Raiders party in San Jose, California. But for the Raiders to be willing to interview Rob Leonard, I think it means a multitude of things. The first thing is, I think it shows me that Klint Kubiak and this coaching staff and everybody making decisions actually knows what they have. And, oftentimes I have said, I think I know the Raiders roster better than the people in charge. I've often said that, I feel like we don't really take advantage of a lot of the things that we have. But for Rob Leonard being the defensive line coach, overall, I just think that this is one of those things that the Raiders, they're showing me that they know what the heck that they're doing. And that makes me happy. It makes me excited just because of how much I had to learn, last season, that the coaching staff doesn't always know the players all that well. The other reason why it should make some people happy is I do know for a fact that Max Crosby is very, very close to Rob Leonard. And you have to replace a Malcolm Kuntz. You're going to have to replace a guy like Charles Snowden. Do you end up keeping Tyree Wilson, who's going to be due his fifth-year option? Hell, there's a 50-50 shot. I think that the Raiders trade Max Crosby. And, yeah, I'm going to say it because I do really think that is a true coin flip. But also, you got to find your replacement for Christian Wilkins. You got to be able to start winning on the interior. And even if you don't hire Rob Leonard, for Klint Kubiak to sit up there at the podium on Tuesday and says he wants a gritty team, and he wants a team that wins in the trenches, and a team that is actually a dominant feature in the trenches. What a great way to get your defensive coordinator job going, by picking the brain of the guy that knows your trenches the most. That's what good organizations do. And again, you don't have to hire Rob Leonard. You don't. You don't have to hire Rob Leonard to be your defensive coordinator. But I think bringing him in that interview says, one, hey, Mark, hey, John, hey, Tom, hey, Clint, you better go give Rob Leonard a little bit of a pay raise because that guy deserves it with all the BS he's had to deal with. But what it really does is it helps Klint Kubiak sit down in a room with a lot of decision makers, and the number one guy who's been working with your defensive line, the number one guy who's been helping your trenches, is going to be in that interview. Because if you don't fix the trenches, it's going to be a problem. So I salute Klint Kubiak and I salute the Raiders for bringing in Rob Leonard, because I do think it's a smart interview no matter what. So be honest with me down below. Let me know down in the comments section, do you want the Raiders to hire Rob Leonard as their defensive coordinator? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. It's happening, I know, a little bit later than what we typically do, but you know what? I'm happy. I'm excited. I always want to give you guys my God-honest opinion. So, do you want the Raiders to hire Rob Leonard as their DC? Yes, no. My answer coming up here after this YouTube ad break. As it stands right now, Rob Leonard's the best candidate. So, I'll say this. I would not be upset at all if the Raiders ended up hiring Rob Leonard. I wouldn't, right? Would I still rather a name like Jim Schwartz? Yes. Yes, I would. But if you're telling me right now that, let's say, the worst candidate that we bring in is Rob Leonard, that's a hell of a worst candidate to have. Also, his name's Karl Scott. He's actually interviewing with the Arizona Cardinals, I believe, today for their defensive coordinator job. That was also a name that I had brought up to me a few weeks ago. I mentioned his name on this show, and he's the Seattle Seahawks defensive pass game coordinator. He's been with Seattle the past 3 seasons, I want to say since 2022, but he was also with Klint Kubiak in Minnesota in 2021. The bottom line is this. Hiring Rob Leonard would be a good hire as a defensive coordinator. Until we see what the other candidates are, I'm not necessarily sure if it's going to be a good move or if it's going to be a bad move. But I'll tell you all right now, if Rob Leonard gets hired to be the DC, I'm getting fired the F up because I have been screaming for a young, innovative, offensive-minded head coach. Why can't we look at a young, innovative, defensive-minded head coach like Rob Leonard to be our DC? Coming up next here on the show, to the 1,400 people that are here live on this show right now, if you haven't already hit that like button, man, oh man, what are y'all waiting on? More important news to know around the silver and black because we talked about the Raiders hiring an assistant head coach. We talked about the Raiders hiring a defensive coordinator. Well, next coming up here, we're going to talk about the Raiders hiring or interviewing an offensive-minded head coach, which maybe it sparkles, maybe it blings. If you're wondering what I'm talking about my chain. Hopefully, don't show Aqib to leave this. Michael Crabtree, I got to get on your game. But you know what? I'm trying to change the game, and I hope that the Raiders try to change up their game as well. Huge shout-out to today's sponsor, GLD. Before GLD, there weren't high-quality, affordable options, but now GLD delivers at every price point, perfect for all people out there. Quality pieces built to last that don't break the bank. It's always real gold in every piece. You can really feel and see the quality in person. Every stone is meticulously hand set. GLD's proprietary production process has quality and shine on another tier. GLD has it all. Chains, pennants, rings, earrings, fully iced out watches, so you can find the perfect gift for anyone in your life. Over 2 million customers, 50,000 5-star reviews, worn by stars like Justin Bieber, Micah Parsons, Mitchell Renz. GLD has an official collab with the NFL, so you can get in every NFL team pennant this season. They also have official collabs with the NBA, WNBA, MLB, NCAA, MLS, and even DC Comics. No, not Derek Carr comments. So work hard and change the game. For a limited time only, new customers are getting an insane deal. Use code CHAT, C-H-A-T. It's up on screen right now to get 50% off at GLD.com. That's 50% off with code CHAT at GLD.com. After your purchase, they're going to ask you, where'd you heard about him? Please tell them Mitchell Renz, Raiders Report, sent you. Why? Because I can keep on hooking y'all up with some amazing, amazing deals. But also, I'm always rocking my Raiders chain. It's cool because I can rock my Raiders chain here at work, and then when I go home, I know my wife, she loves y'all very, very much, but she likes it when I don't have the Raiders pennant on it. So it's like, honestly, it's a 2-for-1. You got like a double-sided belt? Here you go. I got a double-sided chain for you. Shout out to GLD for hooking up Raider Nation. Let's go to the other part here of today's coaching news that I do think needs to be discussed. And coming in from Pelissero, the Raiders are interviewing Seahawks wide receiver coach Frisman Jackson for their offensive coordinator job. I hope what I'm about to say doesn't upset anybody, and I hope people, when they watch the show, know this. I promise you this. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Asian. I don't care if you're polka dotted. I don't care what language you speak. I love all people, and I will stand 10 toes on that. But I'm also always going to give you my honest opinion. It's one of the reasons why I love Klint Kubiak, because Klint's going to be the guy that tells you the truth, whether you want to hear it, whether you don't. But I think it's going to make you a better football player. Just like when I tell you the truth, I think it's going to make you a smarter Raiders fan. The reason why the Raiders are interviewing Frisman Jackson is to satisfy the Rooney Rule. I'm not trying to say that Jackson isn't a good coach. I'll be transparent. I actually don't know that much about him. I know he's been the Seahawks wide receiver coach the past 2 years. I know he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers from 2022 to 2023. He was with the Carolina Panthers from 2020 to 2021. He's got some college football experience, even played a little bit in the NFL from 2002 to 2007. But this, to me, is a Rooney Rule interview. And just like for head coaching search, right? We had to interview 2 coaches in person for the Rooney Rule to be satisfied. If you don't know what the Rooney Rule is, you got to interview a minority coach. That was Mike McDaniel, and it was Ejiro Evero, the Panthers defensive coordinator. For an OC and DC job, it is a little bit different. It doesn't have to be 2 interviews. It also doesn't have to be in person. It can be via Skype. It can be via Zoom. It can be, again, through the airwaves. It's got to be face-to-face, though. But the Raiders, I believe, are interviewing Frisman Jackson to satisfy the Rooney Rule because this will be their one minority candidate interview. But timing is everything in the National Football League. And to me, I look at what happened today and what will happen tomorrow. It was reported by Jeremy Fowler yesterday that the Seattle Seahawks are interviewing 4 in-house candidates. Andrew Janocko, that's their quarterback coach. Jake Peets, that's their pass game coordinator. Justin Otten, offensive line run game coordinator. Mac Brown, Thursday and Friday for the offensive coordinator job per sources. Head coach Mike McDonald taking hard look internally for Klint Kubiak's replacements. I believe that the Raiders will either hire Andrew Janocko, who I would say is the front runner for the Raiders OC job. If Janocko decides to stay in Seattle, then I actually think that Jake Peets could be somebody to keep in mind. Also, Justin Otten. To me, those are the top 3 names for the Raiders to be the next offensive coordinator of the Silver and Black. And just like when we used to say, hey, if Klint Kubiak comes in the room, you don't let him leave. And if the number one guy that you want is Andrew Janocko, and the reason why that I think that's the case is because he's been with Kubiak in Minnesota, with the Saints, now Seattle. And I am just a believer that Andrew Janocko is going to be the next OC of the Las Vegas Raiders. And then I think what ends up happening is Jake Peets is going to be the next OC of the Seattle Seahawks. But what's really important for the Raiders is if Peets, Otten, or Janocko leave their interview with Seattle and they're not hired yet, and again, they also have to satisfy the Rooney Rule. And if they're not hired yet, you take care of your Rooney Rule interview. You learn a little bit more about the receivers that Seattle had. I hear there's this guy named Rashid Shaheed who's followed Klint Kubiak around. Maybe you try to figure out, hey, is that a guy that I want to end up bringing in? But because the timing of this, I believe the reason why the Raiders are interviewing Frisman Jackson is that way they are ready and they are prepared to hire either Andrew Janocko, Jake Peets, or Justin Otten. I hope you appreciate my God-honest opinion. And if anything that I said upsets the Frisman Jackson family, anybody out there that is a minority, I promise you this. I rock with all of y'all, and I hope that people know I love all colors, I love all people, and I love everybody that supports me on this show. Even if you don't support me, I guarantee you this, I'm a lot different in person than I am on this program. Here's the other thing that I know. I know that Raiders Report can party better than anybody else here at Chat Sports. And if you want to get your hands on some St. Patrick's Day merch, get yourself a Sin City Drinking Team shirt at chatsports.com/LVgreen. I'll say this in a few different ways. Number one way, I'm challenging y'all. We're doing a competition here at Chat Sports, essentially to see who's got the best drinking team out there. If we end up selling the most shirts, I'm doing a boot tomorrow, Raiders Friday happy hour, to prove to y'all that Sin City Drinking Team is number one. So if you want to help me be number one here at Chat Sports, and if you want me to do a boot tomorrow, chatsports.com/LVgreen. The shirts are under $30. The other reason why I would get this shirt, in all honesty, I never know what to wear on St. Patrick's Day. Like, I feel like I spend dumb money leading up to St. Patty's Day because I feel like every year I get a different green shirt. Well, how about this? Get yourself a green shirt that rocks the Raiders Report, that rocks your favorite football team, and that rocks St. Patrick's Day. I mean, that sounds like 3 birds, 1 stone to me. And some of you are like, Mitch, I thought it was 2 birds, 1 stone. If you get 3 birds with 1 stone, you just might be a little bit stoned. Maybe that's the next shirt. No, I'm just kidding. Sin City Drinking Team, though. Chatsports.com/LVgreen. So one more time here. The reason why I want y'all to hit that subscribe button is because when news happens, I'm going to keep you up to date. The Raiders have hired Mike McCoy as their assistant head coach. The Raiders are expected to interview defensive line coach Rob Leonard, which I'm telling you right now should fire you the F up. And the Raiders are also interviewing Seahawks wide receiver coach Frisman Jackson for their OC job. I believe it is to satisfy the Rooney Rule in preparation to hire Andrew Janocko, Jake Peets, or Justin Otten. But I think it's to hire Andrew Janocko to be the next OC. It's not going to be the play caller. Klint Kubiak's going to be the play caller. But you still bring people in to help you be the best version of yourself. Because at the end of the day, the reason why you hired Klint Kubiak, and one of the things that Kubiak said, which I love again at his press conference, and I keep bringing it up, Kubiak said, I'm the play caller, but I've never called a game by myself. So what you saw this year from Seattle, what made him the number one candidate, I think, for a lot of us, is probably the help from Jake Peets, Justin Otten, and a guy like Andrew Janocko. So if you have the opportunity to bring one of those guys in to be the OC to get the best out of Klint Kubiak, you freaking do it. If you don't know, I'm live on the Raiders Report. Give me a follow on IG. Give me a follow on Twitter. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. And if you have any questions in regards to the Raiders, Max Crosby, hey, tune into our live show because I'm going to be live as long as the questions continue to roll in.